Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beauty Superstars Talk, your backstage pass to experts in beauty. My name is Miki Wright, and I'm your host, and I'm a salon pricing strategist with BeautySuperstars.com. I empower hairstylists to charge what they're worth, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Today, I am honored to meet with royalty in the beauty industry, true beauty industry legend, the only man that I'm aware of, the only Black man who has helped to build two of the largest Black hair care companies in the world, Mr. Cornell McBride Sr. And we are so in for a treat today, so I'm super excited. So before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about Beauty Superstars Talk, because each and every week I actually have the privilege to interview Black beauty bosses who are doing amazing things in the beauty industry. And we give voice to their stories. We celebrate their excellence while they actually drop nuggets to help all of us become better beauty pros as well as better entrepreneurs. And I think we're in for some good lessons today. So more than a podcast, this is actually a movement to encourage Black excellence, entrepreneurship, to preserve our history, and to bring healing to our beauty industry. So I want to thank our sponsor, which is the Black Beauty Expo. It is the hottest show for Black creative entrepreneurs in the hair, fashion, photography, modeling, and makeup industry. And their next show is coming up Sunday, October 10th in Richmond, Virginia. And 2 weeks after that, they'll be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 24th. So be sure to follow them at blackbeautyexpo.com or on Instagram at Black Beauty Expo. And in that way, you can keep up with the latest news for the show and also for special vendor packages as well. And in addition, I'm excited to share with you that I'm the Global Education Director for the Black Beauty Expo. So if you are interested in educating, to definitely please reach out to me. And so if you're here for the first time, we want to welcome you. And if you are coming back, thank you so much. Definitely, if you're watching us on YouTube, to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss a single episode. We usually have monthly series, and this is all about legendary. This is all about legendary and all about family. And so my guest here today is a perfect example of the legends that we will be speaking with over the next couple weeks. So I am excited to say welcome, Mr. McBride.
Thank you.
How
Thank you.
are you?
Good. Doing all right.
Great. Well, I'm going to share your bio and share a little bit of a tribute that I put together back in February during Black History Month. So, and then we'll just jump right into our conversation. So, Cornell McBride Sr. is founder of McBride Research Laboratories, Inc., a marketing and sales company that markets and distributes a private line of hair care products sold through a network of independent exclusive distributors in the United States, the Caribbean, and the United Kingdom. McBride Research Laboratories developed Wave by Design, a permanent waving system, and Design Essentials, Therapeutics RX, Colora color system. So additionally, Mr. McBride authored A Cut Above, How Cornell McBride Made Millions in the Hair Care Biz. It offers readers a firsthand account of the inner workings of his first company, M&M Products. M&M Products Company introduced internationally known brands such as Stay Soft Pro, Curly Perm, Moxie, and Soften Free. In 2004, Mr. McBride became involved with the Grand Cayman Estates Residential Project. The Grand Cayman Estates Residential Project helped him influence the development of upscale housing in the South DeKalb and Rockdale County areas of Georgia. Grand Cayman Estates is the only gated community in Rockdale County. A native of Savannah, Georgia, McBride attended Fort Valley State College and received his pharmacy degree from Mercer University. Mr. McBride boasts memberships in the following organizations: 100 Black Men of Atlanta, Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, Leadership Atlanta, and the Society of Cosmetic Chemists. He was a former board of directors chair for the American Health and Beauty Aids Institute, which is AHA, and formerly served on the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra Board and First American Bank. Mr. McBride has been married to the lovely Harriet for more than 53 years, and so congratulations on that. That is wonderful. And they currently have one daughter, two sons, and seven grandchildren. So that is wonderful. It's like, and we definitely want to talk more about family aspect of your business. It's like, I think that's such a key thing for us to really cherish and celebrate. So during the month of February last year, it's like I actually had this thought a couple years ago, and I was always kind of behind with getting it together. And so this year, when I looked up and I was like, oh, it's going to be Black History Month, I said, I have to do it. So I created a tribute that's called I Am Black Hair History. And you were one of the people that I paid tribute to throughout our history of the Black beauty industry, because I think there's so much richness to it, obviously, and also so much that doesn't get recorded and celebrated, and a lot of little known facts along the way as well. So it was insightful to do the research for, and some of the things were harder to find than others. So gratefully, there are some things, we were able to find about you and the companies that you've built. So I will just share what I wrote. Back in 1973, two Black men, college classmates, Cornell McBride Sr. and Thurman McKenzie, started a company that made one of the most popular products for African American men, Stay Soft Pro. Their company, M&M Products, went on to generate more than $40 million in revenue. They later sold the company to Johnson Products. Fast forward a year or so, and Cornell McBride went on to found McBride Research Laboratories, MRL, best known for Design Essentials, DE. Design Essentials can be found in upscale salons and fine retailers across the U.S. and globally. Since the company began, it has been a leader in advanced education for hairstylists and a leader with cutting-edge products that promote healthy hair. Their products are designed to infuse the hair with a natural balance of vitamins and protein that promote movement and manageability. Mr. McBride has a pharmacy degree and is one of the founders of ABBA, the American Health and Beauty Aids Institute, which created the Proud Lady symbol. The Proud Lady was on hair care products labels to identify them as Black-owned and manufactured products. ABBA brought together all of the top Black-owned hair care companies to promote Black unity and encourage Black dollars to stay within our community. ABBA went on to create the Proud Lady Beauty Show. Today, McBride Research Laboratories is a family affair. Mr. McBride Sr. has stepped down as president and CEO and has passed the torch to his three children. Cornell McBride Jr. is the president. Andre McBride Sr. is director of operations, and his daughter, Shalonda Armstrong, is the visual media director. As a family, they continue to meet the needs of the market and plan to expand in product offerings as well as increasing global distribution. They are one of a few Black-owned hair care manufacturers, and we as an industry salute them, their vision, and their commitment. And it ended with, I hope to interview Mr. McBride soon. So I am very much honored that you are here, very excited about having this conversation.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, well, you and your family have done so much for the industry and created such a legacy. And I always like to kind of start at the beginning. So it's like, you got a pharmacy degree. So what made you want to major in pharmaceutical, in that realm of the of any of the things you could have chosen to major in?
Well, there was a need arose, and that's really what got me involved in the hair care business. And back in the day when I was in pharmacy school, we were trying to figure out how to make our afro larger.
Okay.
As a result of that, we created a product that we were giving away to other pharmacy students, and they were coming back with these glowing reports about how great it was and how it made their hair soft and all that stuff.
Okay.
We were encouraged really to put the product on the market. And we did just that, so we graduated from pharmacy school, and instead of, being concerned about going to work, we did go to work in the drugstore and stuff like that, but we also started M&M Products Company in my basement.
Okay. So tell us about that.
Well, I think for me, and also I think for my partner, we felt that there was so much acceptance of what we had done among this core group of people in school, and we worked at the hospital. So also in the hospital, we would give it away to folks who work there. And people would always come back asking for more.
Mhm.
So that was encouraging for us to go ahead and try to put the product on the market. And mind you, when you say put something on the market, we had no money. You know,
Okay.
I think we were able to raise $500 each.
Mhm.
We came up with $1,000, and with that $1,000, we produced 1,000 bottles of the product. Okay,
Okay.
and we sold that, and of course, the demand got even larger because once we sold it, people wanted more, and so we were able to secure a small business loan from the bank. I think the first one we got was like $5,000,
Mhm.
and we turned that $5,000 probably into about $100,000.
Wow.
And of course, we always put the money back in the business, and so that's one of the things I would like to say, that when you're starting a business, you got to be mindful of the need not to live out of it. Well, we were fortunate in that we were pharmacists and we were working, and we didn't need to live off of the business. And so
Mhm.
all of the funds, all of the monies that we made, we were able to turn it over into business and watch it multiply. And
Mhm.
that's sort of how that business got started. So much so that I think we were in my basement for maybe a year. You know,
Okay.
at the end of about a year, we were able to go and lease or rent a commercial space
Okay.
and
Okay.
move our fledgling company into that space. And of course, the rest is history.
Okay. Okay. And what was it like kind of balancing the time with working full time and starting your product company?
No problem. No
Okay.
problem, because we worked in the same places. We initially worked in the hospital together,
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
then we went to work in retail pharmacy, excuse me, together. We
Okay.
worked for a company called Revco back in the day.
Okay.
I'm getting hoarse. A
Uh-oh.
little hoarse here. But so we were working in the same place, and I think he would work one shift in the drugstore, and I would work another, so we could work
Oh,
around that. And so when I wasn't working, I was selling the product, and when he wasn't working, he was selling the product.
okay. Okay.
For us, it thing took off. It took off, and also fortunate for us that we had the wherewithal to not start celebrating and living high on the hog and all that kind of stuff. We had a lot of discipline in those early years, which allowed us to plow the money back into the business and grow it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and after that first building, it's like what was kind of the next, kind of
We
milestone?
need we needed more buildings,
Okay.
and then the people started coming, and we had
Okay.
to start hiring people, and we couldn't catch up with the growth after
Right.
a while, and so we had to get at least more space,
Uh-huh.
hire more people, build a real a company, you
Hmm.
know, and all of that took some doing because we were pharmacists, and so all of a sudden we had to turn into business people.
Right.
We had to learn how to run a business, you know, and that was challenging because we were not formally trained in business. But again, we were able to meet that challenge and
Hmm.
to be successful at it by developing a staff that could help us realize the dream that we were trying to fulfill. I think that we got to where that company reached over 40 million in sales, and we ended up with over 400 employees at one time.
Wow.
So we grew from the basement to having over 400 employees.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, you know, kind of mind-boggling. Like, okay.
Hmm.
And that was like in what, about a 10-year period of time?
Less,
Less
less.
than
I
10 years.
think by
Okay.
the time we hit the early 80s, we started the business in 73, graduated pharmacy in 73.
Uh-huh.
Both worked in pharmacy for 1 year. And
Okay.
then 74, by 74, we were full time working in the business. By 81, 82, we were, you know, doing quite well and had, 400 folks working and doing a lot of business around the world, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, as I was putting all this together, like what it really takes to run like a manufacturing, because, right now we don't have a lot of black-owned manufacturers.
Mhm.
Um, it's like we do have a lot of smaller companies, or I don't
Mhm.
know, fledgling, if that's the word, and
Mhm.
some folks
Mhm.
that are right now sitting in their basement, sitting in their house, packaging up their products, and they're doing
Right.
well. But tell us a little bit about running that type of operation. I was thinking research and development, and
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
are in the actual products and the marketing and the distribution.
Right. Yeah, it's quite a task, you know. Um, we developed everything from the ground up, you know. We created the lab to research the products. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we did back then was that we hired Thurman's brother, who was a PhD in chemistry. He had a PhD in
Mhm.
chemistry,
Okay.
and moved him. I think he was teaching school out in Texas somewhere, and we moved him to Atlanta, and he became our chemist, in the lab. And of course, his responsibility was to develop this lab and develop other products and hire people and all
Mhm.
those type of things. We were bold, you
Okay.
know. Um, we built the manufacturing plant. We also had a company doing making bottles. We had
Mhm.
a plastic division. We had a printing division. We built all of that stuff, and we had the energy to do that. I don't know if I would do it that way today,
Mhm.
because that takes up a lot of time and energy, developing all those things. But we wanted to do it back then. And one could say, well, maybe we didn't know any better, but we enjoyed, I think, building this total company and having control of our destiny. And that
Mhm.
kind of was the thought back then about
Right.
the other businesses that we had to create. And of course, hiring people, that's always a challenge.
Mhm.
I have a problem myself because when I hire people, I tend to fall in love with them.
Mhm.
I hate to see them go when it's that time.
Right.
So it's if I had to um, talk about a personal probably weakness is I don't like firing people.
Okay.
I really don't like firing people, and I enjoy working with people, learning from them, and them learning from me.
Mhm.
So we were able to create a staff of people. We didn't really have to do a lot of firing. We had a lot of good people who came and joined us in building that business um, in those early years and on into the later years. We had that business for 18 years
Wow.
before we decided to sell it to Johnson Product, and it's several hour relationship, you know.
Okay.
So once we did that, I started McBride Research Labs, and he went on to found another company called, I think he had a company called Bump Patrol or something like that, a shaving product.
Okay.
And I developed design essentials and Way by Design.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what made you kind of go right from one to the next?
It was what I loved to do.
Okay.
It is what I enjoyed. And I could not envision doing anything else except working in the hair care business.
Okay.
And I didn't want to, going back to the drugstore wasn't an option. By that time, I'm a businessman,
Mhm.
and I'm utilizing those skills that I learned in that first company to start the second one. And I saw the first company as a means of learning, second to. As a matter of fact, my motto is always trying to learn new things, you
Mhm.
know. And I had no problem with spending time in the finance department, the marketing department, the manufacturing. I wanted to know and understand what was going on, with each of those departments.
Mhm.
So I thought it was important to, for instance, understand marketing more, you know.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate enough to meet my good friend Lafayette Jones that I hired way back in the early 80s. And he came in and he really became my mentor and taught me a lot about marketing.
Mhm.
And I've been able to use that knowledge even until till today, in my other business, the housing business, for instance.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm a person who believe in learning new things. Don't mind learning from anyone. You know, and so that has helped me throughout my career, because in building a business, I was telling someone this the other day that I'm in the housing business as well, but it's still a product.
Mm.
It's still a product. You're
Right.
selling a product. You know, it's
Excuse
shampoo
me.
conditioner is a product, a
Mhm.
house is a product,
Right.
and you have to be able to market each one of those things. And there are certain commonalities, with those, customer service,
Mhm.
having an excellent product that you're presenting, people enjoying that product and willing to spread the word and tell other people about it. So you got to start by trying to make and build an excellent product.
Mm.
And I always say that I like to make the product the hero.
Wow.
The product
That's
should be the hero. Yeah.
what they call, that's a good hashtag right there. Make the product the hero.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. What you do, good or service, make that the hero because that's
Mhm.
what people are going to talk about.
Right.
And
Right.
you've got the same thing if you have a service business. And you're in the hair business, if you do a good job, you know that people will tell other people about
Mhm.
it. They will bring you customers.
Right.
The flip side is also true. If you do a bad job, that's what's going to get disseminated.
Right.
They're going to talk about you. They're going to say unpleasant things about you. They're not going to be a plus for you. They're going to be a negative.
Right.
And so each person that I have dealt with in the business of hair, or in the housing business, that customer is the most important thing to me.
Mm.
Trying to make sure that they're satisfied with what we are presenting to them, um, and that if they do have a problem, they can come to me. They can come to us. They can say, "I don't like this for this reason right here." And
Mm.
in with Design Essentials, we gave back a 100% money back guarantee. If you don't like the product, we give you your money back. You
Mhm.
know, and we fulfilled that. Didn't have a whole lot of people wanting their money back, but the fact is that standing behind the product after the sale.
Right.
Too often people sell something, and then when the person come back with a problem, they don't want to hear that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. But that's the time to make that person an ambassador for you.
Yeah.
Solve their problem.
Right.
Even if they're wrong, figure out how you can solve the problem. You know, and that's been my motto also, is that if I have a customer who come to me, I'm going to work hard to just make them satisfied, even to satisfy them, even though the sale, you might think that it's over. No, sale's not over. Sale's
Mm.
not over. I got this person right here. They have a problem. I'd rather them be an ambassador for me, or to be out there spreading, saying just the opposite, or talking negative.
Right. Right.
So that customer to me has always been the most important thing.
Yeah. And that philosophy sounded like it served you well. And it's like I've read something recently where it was just talking about how when people do have a problem, most people don't want to hear about it. They're afraid that they don't do follow up because they're afraid that someone will have a problem. And,
Right,
it's like
right,
most people, the flip side of that was most people understand that things can go wrong or what have you, but it's how
right.
you handle it when they do have a problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's an opportunity,
Yeah.
to make that person an ambassador for you.
Hmm.
And in my whole business career, I bet you I haven't had two people that I didn't care if they stopped using the product.
Okay.
It was one or two. Because
Uh-huh.
if a person called me up and say they have a problem, if they have a problem, I have a problem.
Right.
And I'm going to try to satisfy that person. Even if I have to give them some other products, let them try something, whatever it is, I
Hmm.
want a satisfied customer, you know,
Right.
and I have no problem, with that. And so most of the time in business, once a person, business person, take the money, they think that's the end of it. They don't realize that you want that person to go out there singing your praises, and,
Right.
and promoting you and your products. And so it's incumbent upon the business person to try to understand what's meant by customer service. You know,
Mm.
don't make it personal. Don't get into an argument. Don't get into a fight. You know, give the customer the benefit of the doubt, and you would see that person and many more sending you more customers.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely seen that happen where it's like the person who was unsatisfied becomes the biggest cheerleader. It's like
Yes,
took care
yes,
of it. Yeah.
yes, yes. Every time. I mean, like I said, even in my housing business, I was at a home that we sold 2 years ago. They
Mm,
were having a water problem, and I sent them over a person that had worked for me and went over there with him took him over there,
mm,
show them and to help them solve the problem.
right.
You
Right.
know, no, they have a problem. They live in my subdivision. I
Hmm.
want them to be satisfied, and I know I
Right.
got this guy over here who has done work for me. He can help them, and they
Right.
hired him to solve the problem.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. That's customer service.
That's customer service. That's customer service. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually we're losing you to the side a little bit. I don't know if you can adjust it all. It's like I want to
Did I
definitely be
move?
able to see you a
Okay. Nope. Nope. I'm
little bit
going.
the other way. Yep.
Okay. Okay. There we go.
There we go. Yep, there you are. So, one of the things that you were just sharing as far as like the customer service piece, it just makes me think of the salon and how we can interpret that for the salon. And you were sharing with me that you've been in salons and barbershops in pretty much every major city in the US.
Hmm.
And what are some of the things that you see, that we might be able to do better, in terms of, it's like we get your products, we're doing, hopefully we've gotten some good education and we're
Hmm.
using them and we have our customers, but what can we do to kind of make that whole experience to the user even better, or to the business itself as well?
Again, I think that I've been in a lot of shops. I've been in some shops that have some really good shops, comfortable. Um, you know, no broken furniture or anything like that, but just nice shops. And I've been in some shops that have not been like that. You know, I
Hmm.
think, to me, everything sort of starts with that presentation. What you're presenting to people when they come in. That you want it to be a place that you would go yourself. You know, you want it to be comfortable if persons have to wait or whatever. Um, and so I just think that it's important, to have a place that is that's is representative of you. Let me put it that way.
Hmm.
You
Right.
know,
Okay.
yeah, representative of you. And I know that the industry is changing now. But again, I think that going back to the shop, I've been in some good ones. I've been in some that's not so good. But let me put it that way. And I
Hmm.
that first presentation is important. I don't think that I should become so familiar with my customer until I let things go. I want to present to them in always a first class operation.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good starting point for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Again, I think that the industry is changing. We don't have as many people in salons as we used to have because of the whole natural hair movement and that type of thing that's happening. We still have some great hairstylists out here that's doing
Mm-hmm.
a tremendous job,
Right.
in their businesses, and I'm so happy to see that. You know, so I think that going forward, um, we what's coming in is a generation of new stylists with more technological skills or technical skills
Mm.
that they're going to be able to utilize to better serve their customers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
so what do you see, kind of as you look forward into the beauty industry, what do you see coming for us, or things that we should be on the lookout for, or, kind of what's your prediction, I guess, of where the industry is going?
Now that's a good question. That's the $64,000 question. You know, I think that it's hard to predict, where it's going.
Hmm.
Except that, like I said, you're going to see more technology, people with all of the smartphones and things like that, um, more being able to be in touch with the customer, you know, um, trying to make sure that you have an appointment schedule that a person can rely on. That has always been a negative in the industry, except for those people who like going to the salon and staying all day. You know.
Okay, so what do you mean when you say that? Like if you're not being on time?
Yeah, I think that you have to personally look at yourself, and if anything, and I know, are these people are entrepreneurs. These people, meaning the hairstylists, and
Mhm.
they're one person operation a lot of time, that business, and so they have a lot of things that they're juggling. But it's important to be there before the client get there. You know,
Mhm.
it's important to be ready when the client get there. You know,
Right.
um, so yeah, the client is not always going to be there on time. You know, I think that you want to try to run an operation that's close to some kind of a schedule in and schedule out. You know,
Mhm.
and again, I recognize that you also have people who don't mind coming and staying all day, but that's one of the negatives in the industry. That
Right.
person is kind of moving, going by the wayside. People are busy, people are working, their time isn't perhaps, they don't have as much time as they used to be able to sit around and 3 4 hours in the salon, all day, half day, that type of thing. So
Right.
I think that that's one of the things that we're going to hopefully see is an improvement on getting people in and getting them out of the salon in some kind of timely manner. And I know that it's not always the stylist. I know that that stylist bends over backwards to um to take that customer, even when they come 30 minutes late, you know, or 40 minutes or an hour. She's trying to work them in, and that's why she gets into trouble a lot of time because she's taking someone who's thrown her old schedule off, you know,
Right.
and you got to kind of solve for that as best you can, keeping the other people in mind that will come on time, and that you do want to get in and get out of the salon without it being an all day affair. So,
Right.
so I think that that's one of the things. Again, with this use of cell phones and technology and all that kind of stuff, I think we can communicate more. If you look at the doctors, for instance, now they don't take a chance of you not coming and they're not knowing that you're not coming. You get a text the night before, a phone call, you get all kinds of stuff reminding you that you have a doctor's appointment. And so we're going to have to utilize some of that type of stuff to assure or to make sure that people come on time, or people, if they're not coming, that you have some um, some notice, advance notice, that tomorrow I thought I had 4 people and now only have 3. You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
and to the extent that you can get that information by just copying what's being done.
Mhm.
And I'm sure a lot of people are doing that. You know, but you want to cut down on being surprised if someone don't show up at your business because you could have taken another appointment had you known.
Right.
And so, from the business standpoint, I think that there's a lot of tightening up that can be done, you know, with the customer. And the other thing that we can do, stylists can do a better job of is record keeping.
Mm.
Record keeping.
Talk to us.
hmm You see, historically, a lot of stylists was of the mindset that you know they operate a cash business, so that they took money in cash, put it in the right hand pocket, and they paid money out cash, right hand pocket, to the distributor showing up with their product. No record. The
Mhm.
reason a record is important is because as a business person, you got to be, if you want to go to the bank and they say, well, what, do you have a financial statement? You want to say, yes, I do. You want to be able to present them with financial statement and tax return, you know, um, because if you don't run your business as a business, you can't really learn business.
Mm.
If you run it as a, what's the term I want to use? Anyway, if you run the
A
business
hobby or a hustle.
hobby or hustle, that's the word I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for. You run the business as a hustle, then that's what you're going to have. The reason I'm saying that record keeping is so important because within those records is a lot of good information on how did you make that money? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how many, let's use the term, how many naturals did you do? How many sets did you do? How much color did you do? And when you break it out and you can see what you did, you not kind of know where to go in to promote
Mm-hmm.
your business. You might look at something, I could do more color. And if I want to do more color, I had X number of people who got some color, and I'm going to make sure that I reach out to them. But how about all those people who did not get color? Maybe I could reach out to them. And so then you could utilize your records as a marketing tool
Mm-hmm.
to communicate to people instead of waiting for them to call you up to come back in again, you know. But it starts with that record that you got to have, and of course, this notion about the taxes that people think that they're getting away with, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you keep up with the expenses and and the revenue, and you record them too, all them expenses you have,
Right.
you probably come out a whole lot better just taking advantage of the expenses and all the other deduction that you have as a small business person, and not worry about not reporting all of the income, because if you want to buy a house or any major purchase, you got to have a record,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Right.
or you're going to have to go to people who are shysters themselves and pay high interest on a car and all that kind of stuff, and forget about getting a house. Of course, if you have a husband with a job, that's different too. But I'm talking about if you, as an individual out there, you want to have a record of what you're doing in business, so
Right.
that you can utilize that information to uh, produce more business.
Yeah. 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 Such really good, important points because I think we saw it with, COVID with the shutdowns and that type of thing.
Hmm.
That, one, it's like we're used to going into the salon. It's like, okay, I can make some money. I make some money today. I spend some money today. Tomorrow I
Right.
get to go back. And then it was like, it's like, oh,
Hmm.
you can't go back.
Hmm.
And then there was money available, but you had to have tax records for some people. You had to have a
Exactly.
website. You had to have all of these things. And it's like,
Right.
oh, you
Hmm.
know, I don't
Hmm.
have that. So it
Hmm.
just takes you completely out of the game. So I think what you're
Out of
saying
the game.
is super important.
That's right. So you're not really getting ahead because you can run a cash business and therefore not report all your income. You're
Hmm.
doing yourself a big disservice, you know, because like I said, you want to learn how to be a better business person.
Hmm. Yeah.
And in order to do that, you got to have records. And you got to utilize those records and stuff so that you're driving your sales or your business. You're not just waiting for people to come. You're helping them to come by communicating with them based on knowing what they did before. You know,
That is so important. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that is, I mean, really, really important. And it's something that I've always talked about in the industry, because I know that in business for me, if I had never tried to understand business,
Hmm.
I'm not going to go back and get a degree in business. No, I ain't doing that. I'm going to understand how it works. You know,
Right.
that's what I thrive to do, is to understand how does this thing work, you
Yeah.
know, and be able to appreciate that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you just laid it out for us. So we got some things to work on. So I hope some notebooks were out or some tablets or what have you.
You see, you got to have discipline. If you're going to be
Mhm.
successful in anything, you have
Wow.
to have discipline. And unfortunately, that's not one of the things that a lot of people have, because it's about you know that quick fix, not so much a quick fix, but that instant gratification.
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
Saying that, if you want to be good in business, you've got to try to practice real business, and you
Mm.
got to present yourself as a business person. You're going to get a lot more respect when you can go out there and someone asked. I had to put together some records here recently, last few days, about some things I'm trying to do. They said, send me your tax return, send me your personal financial statement, and what else? I think that was it. Tax return and the tax return on your business.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No problem. Here they are. You know,
Right.
I mean, but so you
Had a
don't have
mad
to,
scramble.
right, right. You used to have those things.
Right.
So you really don't have to be a huge business to do that. I do know that when you're entrepreneur, single entrepreneur, that you have a lot of things that you have to do, particularly if you're a single parent.
Hmm.
I do understand all that, but that means that if I don't have time to do it, I got to find me somebody who could help me do this.
Right.
You know, and again, with technology today, you could have it at your fingertips as soon as you do the job. You got, all
Right.
kinds of software that you could put it right in right then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely find that a lot more people are using that, maybe not a lot still, but a lot more people are using, salon software. They're using
Mhm.
something to, check their clients out. So they do have some type of point of sale records and that type of thing. But
Right,
when I sit down with them to have a conversation, like, what's your average ticket?
right.
That it's in there somewhere, but they don't
Mhm.
know even how to find it or where it is.
No, you have to know that. I mean, you can't be so busy doing the service that you don't understand how the business operate.
Hmm.
You know, we are very good at the service end of it, but
Hmm.
the service end, in terms of being successful, they estimate something I read a long time ago that that's only about 15% of what it takes to be successful.
Mm.
It's the other 85% of the things that you don't do, you see? And
Wow.
so the technical skills, they say, is a very small part of what it takes to be successful. You know, it's all of the marketing, the business, and other things
Hmm.
that you need to understand. It's not like I'm saying go back and get a degree on, or it's difficult. No, no, these are simple, easy things that you do. And and again, if you need help, you try to get someone to help you do it or to show you, how to do it. But anyway, that's going forward. I think being a better business person would enable folks to see where are the opportunities,
Mm. Right. Right.
that's coming up, and understanding what's going on. Always being to know is still important. I think to not a whole lot of education is going on right now, you know, but where you can get that added knowledge, but
Mm.
not always just about the technical side of the business,
Right.
but the business side of the business as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, there is a lot going on. It's a lot virtually. It's like there's a few
Virtually,
things
right,
going on live, but there's
right.
a lot virtually. Like you can completely get overwhelmed and overdose on all of the opportunities that are out there to learn. So definitely take advantage of it because
Hmm.
yeah, it is right there and available. And we're getting some shadowing from your blinds, I think. I don't know if
I see that.
it's one way.
Yeah. Let me see something here. I think I'm gonna. Let's see. Could I do something? I'm seeing that too.
Let's see if that.
Is that better?
Yep. That.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah, we
see,
still get a little. I
where's that one
don't. It may not be avoidable.
mhm,
Yep.
coming from? Huh.
Or
Okay.
maybe if you turn them the other way, so they face up instead of down or something. I don't know.
Um, I think that's the window above. Let me see. Could I move
Oh,
it?
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you though. So
Okay. Okay. Let me do it like this. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and one of the things that you've kind of talked about, and you and I were talking about just briefly the other day, was like trends. And it feels like you've been, kind of on the forefront of various trends within the beauty industry, like you said, from, your own experience with wanting your own afro to be bigger.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, so we create a product to meet that need. And how do you feel like, as far as like the importance of keeping up with the trends or setting the trends, or, what's your thought on that? Because it's like, we had the curl came after the natural or
Hmm.
afro.
Mhm.
and you guys were in position for that. I guess
Mhm.
then the relaxers really took off, and the
Mhm.
wave, the wave revolution,
Mhm.
going back to some of the curly perm, but in a different way that it was expressed.
Mhm.
And so, now we've got natural hair, and you guys have evolved and pivoted to meet the needs for that as well. So, what's your process, kind of when you're putting these things together?
I think in the any business, you got to try to know what's going on. You're
Mhm.
not going to be able to start all these trends yourself. And most trends, they start and gradually, and you see them, you know.
Okay.
And just this decision most time is, should I join that? I can remember when the naturals started coming on, a lot of stylists wouldn't do naturals. They
Mhm.
would send that person down the street to someone that was doing naturals. They
Mhm.
didn't see it as an opportunity to increase their skill set and to be able to take care of that customer. They ran away from it for a long time because they assumed that it was going to be just uh, what's trend, not a trend,
Bad. Yeah.
fad.
Right.
They thought it was going to be a fad. And next thing you know, she looked around and all of her people was natural.
Mhm.
See, and that was a little late in the game, but you also had people who took advantage of that, and saw it and set out to learn how to service that aspect of things, and so they did quite well. And the person who did not make the transition, um, she probably didn't do as well, unless she's in an area where you didn't have a lot of change taking place. But this whole natural thing was all over the place,
Mhm. Right.
maybe at different degrees, but it was pretty much all over the place, um, rural, city, wherever.
Mhm.
And so, trend, you can't always predict them, but if you are active and going to events and you know, reading what's going on and seeing what's going on when you go out every day,
Mhm.
paying attention to what's happening, then you're better in a position to pick up on things that may be coming on, you know,
Okay.
the things that's new. I just think that with a lot of the young folks today, and their technical savvy,
Mhm.
they grew up with the cell phones and all that stuff. I think that group is going to come up with some ways of doing things, utilizing technology, you know, to further their business. I've always wondered, in terms of what's next in an industry. Um, what would you combine with hair if hair is not enough? You know, there's got to be some other things that you could do in addition to within the beauty field.
Yeah.
You know, um, and so I don't know, but it's got to be some other things that you could do in addition to, unless you've got so much hair business that you don't need to do anything else.
Right. Right.
You know, then I understand that, but I think that you're going to see some of the younger people come up with some things that's going to be quite interesting. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It will be kind of exciting to see. But it's interesting how you described, the Afro being maybe considered a fad at first or what have you, and
Right.
people not transitioning. And then we fast forward to maybe about 10 years ago when, it's like everybody started kind of the natural hair revolution, if you will. Um,
Right.
and people were a lot the same way. It's like, well, I do relaxers and I don't want to do natural hair. And,
Right.
and it's that same kind of not moving forward in a sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah.
perpetuates.
Yeah, you're gonna have more and more of that. I think these salon suites is going to be an opportunity for
Mhm.
a lot of people. I think that within those suites, you're going to get maybe a even different kind of clientele, that's coming to those suites. Um, so I think that just I think being aware of what's going on,
Mhm.
so that you can, take advantage of the opportunities that's going to be there. Um, I don't know in terms of the overall industry, uh,
Mhm.
a number of people coming in at this point in time because in the last couple of years, of course, we've been dealing with this virus, and that has
Right.
had a tremendous effect on the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so just trying to get through this period right now
Right.
for a lot of salons is what they're trying to focus on and stay safe, you know,
Absolutely.
and be safe. So again, you've got to try to look at it from the standpoint of if I have a customer coming here and with the virus out there, what are some of the practices that I need to put into place?
Mm-hmm.
You got to do just like any other business. You can't have a whole bunch of folks setting up in there, you know,
Right. Right.
one time. You got to make this customer comfortable with what you wear and what you're doing, you
Right.
know, and in order to have that person want to come and to come back. But more importantly, you got to try to take care of your customer with that in mind. And again, I know I'm not telling folks anything that they're not doing. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that that's one of the things that you got to focus on now is the virus and how do I keep people safe.
Yeah, yeah. And, I definitely have said, it's like a lot of things we were doing already behind the scenes, it's like the sanitizing and that type of thing,
Hmm.
at least for the most part.
Hmm.
There's definitely room for some improvement in the industry, but now it's like not, spray the bowl down and hide the bottle. It's like put the bottle out and say, hey, it's like I've got this and I'm going to be sanitizing this and
Right,
let them
right.
see you, let them
Let
know
them see
before
you
they
doing
come
it. That's
in.
right.
Yeah,
Let
put
them
it on
see.
your social media and all of that kind of stuff to promote that it's like, yep, we are still doing this and
That's right.
whatever measures you're doing to make sure the clients know that that's what you're doing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah,
that client is more apt to come back and to be comfortable when
right,
they come back. But if you don't practice those things, if you don't demonstrate that you have that person's safety in mind, then they may not come back.
right, right. And what was the effect for you guys as a company with the shutdowns last year, which throughout the country were everybody was down for a while, but then certain parts opened back up and others shut back down, and of course hairstylists were at home for a while, and
Hmm.
that's a lot of your business, and then there wasn't as much shopping. It's like you know was it that the online piece kind of picked up, or what
Yeah.
were you guys
Yeah.
pivot?
The online piece picked up, and the whole retail piece, picked up,
Hmm.
and of course, believe it or not, the business picked up.
Okay. Uh-huh.
You have a lot of shortages out there now in
Right.
the supply chain. It's hard to get material in and stuff, and so you tend to have longer lead times and all. Everyone is experiencing that.
Hmm.
Overall, for us, the business picked up, and for a lot of other manufacturers, I spoke to a few, did the same thing. And I think that some of that may be panic buying. You know,
Hmm.
I think we all have gotten into. I used to buy one, now I buy two
Okay.
at a time, and when I get down to one, I buy another one.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and so I think that you have some of that taking place where people are buying perhaps more than they need right now. I know I'm doing that. And
Hmm. Yeah.
I suspect other people are doing the same thing. The net effect of it is it has driven the business up. You
Hmm.
it has increased the business, and so
Right.
folks are everyone is just trying to make sure that they have what they need, because if they go to the shelf and it's not there, when they go back and it's there, they buy more than one.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying that with ink. It's like my last time I didn't know that ink was an issue, and so my last time I got two things instead of one, and so I just put the second one in. It's like, oh, I better go back and get two more.
Yes, yes,
I
that's
don't want
right.
to be short. So yeah,
Right. But see, you'll be surprised at what that does to the supply chain.
right, right,
Particularly in these times.
right.
Where it's taking a long time to get stuff anyway.
Hmm.
You know, and if people are buying more than they need,
Right.
you may reach a point down the road where
Mm.
sales slow down.
Right, right.
But it looks like with this virus, we got another year or two.
Who
We
knows?
don't know. We don't know. And that's something. I mean, the whole thing involving getting the vaccine, I'm an
Mhm.
advocate of taking the vaccine.
Mhm.
I'm an
Right.
advocate of taking the vaccine. I think it's the best thing that we have going. I don't believe all of this negative about the vaccine. I
Right.
do believe that if you don't have the vaccine, you have a much greater chance
Mhm.
that you're going to get sick and you may not make it.
Right. Right.
And so I believe in it. And I just wished and hoped that more people would believe in just getting the vaccine. I don't know what people are trying to prove.
Right.
If you look at the television, you'll see that the people who are dying, they didn't take the vaccine. They
Yeah.
didn't take it. And some of them on their deathbed are saying that they wish they had,
Right. Right.
right? And so, hey, that's again, that's something that you know, again, it goes back to what we were talking about in terms of sanitizing and making people
Mhm.
comfortable and all that kind of stuff. And I
Right.
didn't mean to get off into my personal belief, but I
Yeah.
believe in taking the vaccine. I know that it's the best single thing that we could do.
Yeah. Yeah. And right now, it's like there aren't necessarily like a lot of options, you know? So,
No,
yeah.
there are
There.
not. There's not a lot of options,
Yeah.
but we've made it political. You
Yeah.
know, I just don't understand some of the um, people. I'm always shocked when I hear someone didn't take the vaccine and
Mm-hmm.
they're intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it makes me question, you say you're intelligent? You
There's
know,
definitely, yeah, so many schools of thought. So
right,
it's
right, right. But to me,
it's
this is a
challenging.
no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good you're saying that, and it's definitely, it's like everybody's gotta make decisions, but know that there's implications with those decisions as well. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. But
yeah.
so anyway, I think that the industry overall is sort of, in a state of flux,
Mm,
because of the virus and all the things that's going on.
right,
That,
right.
and I think that people are struggling to survive right now.
Yeah.
You know,
So you said that you saw an increase with your retail products. Is that from hairstylists who were doing more like online sales? Is it
we
from
had some of that.
when
We
the
had we had a
retail?
lot of that.
Okay.
We ran some programs encouraging hairstylists to retail to their customer who was at home.
Hmm.
And there were some incentives and stuff like that we gave out for the person doing that.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think that the at home business picked up,
Hmm.
the retail stuff picked up, and so for us, like I said, the business overall is up.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And retailing, traditionally has been really tough for salons. It's like we haven't embraced that it's part of the service. And so,
yeah.
would you have any tips to help hairstylists who may be like, well, I know I need to do more, or I'm doing some, but I want to do more?
I'm still trying to dodge this sunlight thing.
Okay. Well, you're
Okay,
perfect right there, actually,
yeah, right. Um,
if you're comfortable.
yeah, I spent my whole well life, not life, but salon life,
Hmm.
yes, particularly on the professional side, dealing with trying to encourage stylists to retail.
Hmm.
And for all of the different reasons, they never really got into retail
Uh-huh.
products. Some of it because they were in a situation where they didn't own the salon, they're booth rentals, they don't have a lot of space, things
Mhm.
like that.
Okay.
And so there are a lot of reasons why some of them did not retail. But I don't think I would be in a business using products and not be able to try to sell that product to the person I'm using it on.
Hmm.
I would want to come up with some kind of way of presenting those products so that there is continuity with the
Right.
person they're using. And so I would want that person to rely on me to tell them what to use, and I would want to be there trying to supply that.
Hmm.
And so the retailing business has not been something, as you said, that salons have embraced over the years, but it's what they should embrace,
Hmm.
trying to retail products to their customer. It's another revenue stream, of course, for them. And again, if you're keeping records, you can kind of keep up with what is my retail business, you know, again, I recognize that there are some limitations for people who work in salons or who don't own the salon or don't have their own space and that type of thing. But I think a little bit more emphasis can be placed on or put on, retailing products to the customer base rather than telling them go down the street to so and so beauty supply and buy this, that, and other.
Right.
You see?
We hear that all the time,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, that's what people do. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of folks who are probably where you were when you were beginning the companies. They're at home, they're packaging products, they've
Mm,
done some formulating, some things are happening, and some of them are aspiring to get into the stores,
mm.
to get into the retail distribution piece. Any suggestions for that? I've heard some horror stories, some success stories. Any things to look out for as you're trying to grow your business and move in that direction?
Well, I think that a lot of these businesses have got their start online, and they've
Hmm.
been very successful
Hmm.
building up that base of building up the that business online. And
Hmm.
a lot of the people who did that got good at it, you know, being able to sell online, and that sort of propelled them into retail. Because if you don't have a demand for your product at retail, you're not going to get to the shelf. But
Okay.
if you have a demand for your product because you were online selling it, that's a good way to get to the shelf if that's where you want to go. There's nothing wrong with running a successful business online.
Hmm.
You know, let the business dictate to you what's next.
Hmm.
A lot of times selling online, you can be more profitable. You don't have to do gigantic amount of sales. Sometimes if you have a good profitable business online that you are able to live out of and prosper with, hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
Because the truth is, if if your products become successful there, that person online is start going to the stores asking about it.
Hmm.
You know, and
Right.
that's how a lot of people end up starting a business online and then converting to retail distribution. But retail distribution can be difficult, you
Mm.
know, um, particularly if you're trying to do distributing yourself. Some of
Mm.
the big box people like Amazon, they're not easy to do business with.
Okay.
You've got to be really on your P's and Q's and stuff, and in order to ship them to them timely and be profitable with that. So again, I think that the online sales and running that business, learning about that business, and really developing it online is a good place to be.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and do you get into more like diversion as well with doing some of the things with retailers? Is
Nah, not so much
not
now.
much.
Well, you're going to have some diversion. It just depends.
Mhm.
Um, if you can try to control your distribution, at some point you want to have some control over your distribution. You just can't go out and sell everyone who come to you if
Okay.
you don't have control over it. So you got to be able to be somewhat selective on who you sell to.
Okay.
Most of your retail people, they're not going to divert, the product to where you don't want it or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, so again, in the beginning, most people are just concerned about selling every as much as they can sell,
Right.
and not think about any kind of diversion. It used to be if you're trying to keep a product in the salon,
Uh-huh.
and that product it happened to us. The more successful the product is at the salon, the more it's going to get diverted.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But if you're starting out kind of online and you're already in a retail market, consumer, business to consumer sales, then there's less of that
Yeah. Besides, like I said, if you're online and selling and making a good profit, keep doing that.
doing that.
That's good. I
Right.
mean, you have to be able to measure your own success and to
Uh-huh.
determine what that is. But But if you're online and you're doing well with it, and you can promote to that customer base and increase the customers out there based on what you're doing, marketing through that customer, a whole bunch of stuff that you could do with the customer that you already have, you know,
Right, right.
sample through them, all kinds of things that you could do with those people. So you could spend a lot of time just trying to increase your business online. And again, I'm not an expert on
Hmm.
marketing online, but a lot of these young folks, they know how to do that, you know.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So wise words there.
Hmm.
It's like I think it's been like like the epitome or the dream to be, to go to Target and see your product on the shelf kind of thing. But it's
Not necessarily so.
right,
I mean, I know that's the dream of a lot of people, but hey, if you've got a decent business online and you got
right.
big profit margins on it, be satisfied with that, And yeah, you may get to the retail shelf, but you got to grow the whole organization to where it can handle that other part of the business, the retail, and all the things that you got to do, with it,
Mhm.
you know. And again, you got a number of people who are very successful. I won't call their names, but very successful on the
Mhm.
retail shelves that got their start online. Most of those companies started online,
Mhm.
particularly in the natural hair business.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely some good products and stuff out there, and so like you said, the online is definitely the way to go.
Hmm.
And speaking to those budding entrepreneurs, folks that are doing well online with their online business, but of course, they're aspiring to the next level.
Hmm.
Can you shed any light, like from going from like zero to $1 million? Because I know that's always the spot where everybody's like, oh, I want to have $1 million in sales. And what was that like for you?
I'll tell you. If I go back to the M&M days,
Mhm.
where we were selling product wherever we could sell it, and the money started coming in. And our challenge really was how to handle the money that was coming in. And
Mhm.
that's the challenge of any business person, any entrepreneur, is that all of a sudden you have the resources coming, and what do you do with it? Do you start buying the toys,
Mhm.
and all that, and living high on the hog? No, no. It is best to um, live comfortably, of course, but to try to minimize what you're going to take out of the business and to try to plow money back into the business to make it better. You know, better
Mhm.
marketing. You know, that could mean maybe you're going to do better packaging. Maybe you're going to do more and better advertising. All the things that you could do to promote the business, and that's for us was the focus. We put ourselves second. You know, I remember distinctly that we were earning as a pharmacist back then about $15,000 a year,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden we had a business. We were doing a couple $100,000 in the first couple of years. Well, what
Mhm.
do we do with that? You know, I think we might have increased our salaries a little bit. It wasn't much,
Mhm.
but of course, if you're making 15 and you raise it to 30, you just double your salary.
Right, right.
You have to quadruple it. You
Yeah,
know,
right, right.
so all that excess money we were plowing back into the business to make the business even stronger. Be it in maybe hiring people, it
Yeah.
may be more space, or all of the things that you got to invest in, to make that business more successful is where you want to try to direct those resources. And so you might need to have someone else in your organization that you're gonna have to pay handsomely to come and but you
Mhm.
need this kind of person, you
Right,
know. And
right.
so you want to try to not so much, the $1 million or whatever that number is to know what's your profitability, you
Mhm.
know, and to be able to, like I said, just have the discipline and not get excited because in your account you got a couple $100,000 sitting over there, and all of a sudden you need a new car or a new house,
Need, right?
Yeah, yeah. You just have to be disciplined about how you utilize the resources that you're creating if you want to create a solid business.
Mm,
You know,
hmm.
if you want something you're going to that's going to grow, you know,
Right.
and that's why you have to invest back into the business as a priority. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So we were fortunate because we both were very disciplined
Hmm.
back in the day, and we took that on into that business, and that's why we were able to develop that business out of my basement to over $40 million business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have like some guidance in those early couple years as like to for anyone to help you say, what to do,
Yeah,
resource?
yeah. We had a good accountant
Okay.
that taught us a lot, you know,
Okay.
about expenditure and profitability and all that kind of stuff. I can remember one year where we were very profitable, and I believe we might have been we're in our first building then,
Mm.
and we got the bright idea, and it worked, that we were going to pay a lot of taxes had we not spent the money, you know.
Okay.
So, so what we did was the fourth quarter was a time in advertising back then where people converted to Christmas advertising pretty much in the fourth quarter, you
Hmm.
know. And so we were sitting on a pot full of money, and we decided that even though our product wasn't a Christmas product, that we wanted to spend this money in that year,
Hmm.
drive sales for the next year.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
so we took this money, and this was with the advice of our accountant. And I don't know how much it was, but let's call it $50,000.
Hmm.
And let's say we dropped $50,000 in advertising. All of a sudden, January of the next year, guess what happened to sales? Through the roof.
Hmm.
And we got the expense for that year.
Right. Right.
So we were able to reduce the profitability, and because we spent that money in the previous year, but it was profitable for the next year. And we would look for those kind of opportunities every year.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's incredible. Smart.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that you want to learn how to be smart in the business to make the business more successful,
Hmm.
and to not be afraid to learn more things. I went
Okay.
to a lot of enrichment courses back in
Hmm.
the day.
Hmm.
American Management Association used to put on these enrichment courses, marketing, sales, all kinds of stuff, you know, and it would be all over the country, and I would go to these classes and take those courses and learn from other people. I
Right.
even went out to Stanford
Hmm.
and took a 2 week business course at their adult school of business. Did that a couple of years where they taught a course in marketing and also in sales.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 2 week there, no, I know, but they did a summary of the MBA program.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Yeah, and so within that 2 weeks, that's what you got. You know,
Okay.
but it
Nice.
was great. It was great, and so learning those things and understanding uh, from the business perspective uh,
Hmm.
enable us to grow the business beyond the basement where we were doing a couple $100,000.
Right.
See,
Right.
but you have to get yourself ready for that bigger opportunity. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. You just can't think that the same person that started this thing doing a few $100,000 is going to be the same person that's going to lead it if it's doing 10 million. Not unless you equip yourself, to move along and also hire the right people.
Mm.
Because you're not going back to school to become an accountant or anything like that. You know,
Right.
so you put yourself in a position where you hire people that need what you that bring to you what you need,
Mm.
to grow that business. In the meanwhile, you learn in a general sense from them. You need to understand it. You need to understand the concept of marketing. You
Mm.
need to understand how to read a financial statement. Not a big deal, easy,
Hmm.
to learn. It's just like with your checkbook.
Right. Right.
You put money in the checkbook, you can't spend more money than you put in.
Yes.
People try to do that, but you can't spend
A
more money,
law. Yeah, it's a
than you
natural
put in.
law.
Mhm. And if you're subtracting out every time, you know exactly how much you have.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you can't kid yourself. A lot of people try to fool themselves. I didn't know that I wrote that check. No, 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 no. Again, a lot you have to, I think, you put back into yourself, learning new things and
Mhm.
growing yourself, and there are all kind of ways of reading books, you
Right.
know, reading, you know. Um, One of the books that I read a long time ago is called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm.
Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
Dale Carnegie. Now, what make that book so important? Because it taught me about human relation skills, how
Yeah.
to deal with people, you
Right.
know, how to disarm a person when you see an argument coming,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
all
Yeah.
of those kind of things. That's good. That helps in a business. Creating that communication between you and the people that's working with you,
Hmm.
so that you're not talking down to them, you're talking directly at them, and you're allowing them to talk to you.
Right.
That
Right.
exchange right there, if you're able to execute that, is tremendous amount of learning that will come from that. You know.
Yeah. Game changing. Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that book was important. I used to be a student of this guy Peter Drucker. He
Mm.
was a business guru back in the day, and he wrote a book called Management by Walking Around.
Okay.
And so what I do in my business, I walk around all over the place.
Okay.
The person shipping the product, talk to the person on the line, you know,
Right.
talk to people wherever they are.
Mm.
Talk to them and talk to them as a person with
Right.
respect for that person. Would you believe the other day I was at home and I got a phone call from my factory, and someone called me that I befriended. I know the people, and
Mm.
said, you need to come over here because they're doing such and such.
Mm.
And I went, and they were doing just what they said. But that person had my number, right? Why? Because
Right.
I give it to them.
Right.
You
Yeah.
see? Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I guess I think of it like I use the term synergy.
Mm. Hmm.
Creating synergy with people. You know,
Right.
and I also use the example of batteries. If you take two batteries and you put them together, they're stronger than either one.
Mm.
You see?
Okay.
That's what you want with people.
Right.
You want, when you come in contact with that person, that the two of you sharing knowledge, being open to each other, being straight with each other, uh, having respectful conversation. That if you're the superior and that person's subordinate, don't think that you got all of the ideas. That you want that person to be able to tell you if they disagree with your idea or not,
Hmm.
and why. You understand?
So you can learn. Yeah.
Yeah, you can learn something from that to have a different perspective. Doesn't mean that you have to do exactly what they say, but if you decide to do it your way, be able to tell them why.
Mm.
Be
Hmm.
able to tell them why. I hear what you're saying, but here's why I'm doing this. Have you
Right.
thought about this over here? You see? Now that person may come back with, well, have you thought about, now you see how that synergy work?
Right.
Both people will benefit from a conversation like that. So it's all about growing yourself, always trying to grow and to
Right.
learn and to exchange information. you know so I never think of myself as being smart. I think of myself as being a facilitator.
Mm.
And
Powerful.
yeah, that's just facilitator, that's all. And I'm open to a person, you know, just telling me what you think, and giving me your idea, you know,
Hmm.
and it makes me better, you know, because I'm not closed off where everything's got to go my way. So anyone who work with me, they know that.
Hmm.
They know
Right.
that. Hmm.
Well, speaking of people who work with you, it's like, let's talk about your family.
Hmm.
It's like, how is that those relationships and things evolved? And I guess one of my questions is, like a totally different tone, but it's like you guys were doing, the $40 million business back when. It's like, and just from their perspective, what was it like growing up the child of a millionaire?
Well, my first business, my two oldest kids, Cornell Jr. and his sister Sheila. We lost Sheila, by the way, at an early age,
Oh,
with
wow.
kidney disease.
Yeah.
I'm a kidney donor, by the way,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry to hear about your
so
daughter.
I donated to her, and we still lost her. But they grew up in that business when the business was in the basement, and so
Okay.
their chores back then was to help with the manufacturing. In other words, pouring it in a bottle,
Mm-hmm.
type
Okay.
of thing. But they got paid for it, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So they had to do a certain amount of bottles before they could go out to play. I know, don't come in and they don't call the labor department on me, but
Okay.
they had to do a certain number of bottles before they could then, go out and play. But they got paid for it. As far as working in the business, um, I never insisted that my kids come and work in the business. You know, I saw my responsibility is to educate them in whatever they wanted to be educated in. And if they decided to work in the business, it had to be their decision. And so, fortunate for me, all of them wanted to come work in the business. You
Wow.
know, and so as a family working together, we have our differences and stuff. Nobody's going to agree all the time, but for the most part, we get along, and yet we do have differences. We have board meetings and stuff, and yeah, sometimes it gets kind of rowdy. But making the transition, or having the kids in the business, for me it's a dream come true, because as I have gotten older, and even before now, you don't you want to be able to pass it on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm proud of, is that we're able to pass it on to them. And Cornell Jr. took over the business back in 14 or 15,
Oh.
somewhere there about. Then my task is, how do I stay out of his way? You see,
Right.
so, and that's a delicate thing, But I always remember that when I was in charge, he had to defer to me. Now he's in charge. If there's a point of difference, I have to defer to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's making those decisions. We could talk about it, but the decision has to be his decision, you know.
Right.
And so as a family, we've been able to make it work, even though we have our differences, different opinions about things, and that's always back and forth, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But now that we are in the housing business as well, that Shalonda and my other son Andre are now working with me in that business to take it over,
Mm. Okay.
to take it over. And so they started this year, really, um, you know, helping to run that business. And it is my hope that they'll take it to wherever, that
Mm-hmm.
I've done my part by give, passing it on to them.
Nice.
So we as a family, I would say, average. We get along with one another. We've always tried to not let any wealth, determine who we are,
Mm.
you know, but to try to treat every person as an equal.
Mm-hmm.
So you come into this our business, you're not going to be able to tell that's a McBride. That's no, we don't do it like that. You know,
Okay.
we don't do that. But I'm proud of them, the way they have handled it over the years and stuff like that, and the fact that they've been able to pick up the baton and to take it on to another level. And Cornell Jr. is running this business, like I said. Andre and Shalonda are going to be spending more time in the housing business, you
Nice.
know, taking that over.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see the legacy continue.
Yeah. And we got grands now.
Yeah.
We have grands, and they are around here in the summertime and stuff like that. Again, I don't want to. We're not mandating that you come work in this business.
Right.
Our parental responsibility really is to give you a good education in whatever you want to be educated in.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah. So
and
any words of wisdom for your grandchildren?
Again, I want them to do what they want to do.
Uh-huh.
You
Uh-huh.
know, whatever that is, I want them to do what they want to do. I don't want them to think that, and we don't raise them to think that you got to come and work in this business.
Right.
We don't do that. And if they end up wanting to work in this business, we hope to have a place for them if they
Mhm.
want to work in the business, you know.
Right.
But our obligation, well, not mine, but Cornell and those obligation is to give them a good education.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is wonderful. And so, any words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with? It's like you.
You know, I just think the things that drives me and motivates me again, it go back to, you know, trying to be a principled person, you know, trying to be a person of integrity, you know, a person of your word. Those are old fashioned things that I was raised up with. When I grew up, your word meant something.
Mm, mm,
Today, to me, my word still means something, so that if I make a promise to someone or whatever, I'm going to try to fulfill that. And if I can't, I'm going to tell you why,
mm,
you know. So I try to be that kind of upfront person. I think that is good because, like I said, so much accrue to me from people that I know that will pull my coattail about things because they know that that's kind of the way I am. That I'm going to be truthful, you know.
right.
And so, a person of integrity, uh, you can't beat that, you know. Um, when what I really think about is, when you speak, you want the person to know that you're telling them the truth. You don't want a reputation of, oh, I ain't gonna believe him. No, you know, because you're cutting off all of the flow of information to you if you're that kind of person, you know.
Right.
So to me, trying to be a person of integrity, a person of your word, trying to treat everyone as an equal, never look down on anybody. We all human beings. We all are going to be here on this earth a certain amount of time, and then we're leaving. And when we leave, we're not taking anything with us. So those are my words.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, it's like this has just been such a great time and great source of just your essence. It's like I think that we've gotten so much of that, and that integrity just shines through, and it's served you and your business well, served the beauty industry well. It's like we're grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's who I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So thank you so much. It's like I really appreciate your time. And for everybody that's here with us, it's like we appreciate you being here. It's like I definitely hope you have pulled out a paper and pad or a tablet by now to take some notes and stuff and learn from this master of business. And it's like the examples that he set and the bar that he's set. It's like we love it. So if you have enjoyed this, it's like definitely drop something that you got out of today, below in the comments, and we'll be checking on that. And if you're on YouTube watching, definitely subscribe. If you are on the beautysuperstars.com website, it's like definitely you can subscribe there, and we'll keep you posted with upcoming shows so that you won't miss an episode. And we've had about more than 60 interviews to this point. And so if
Mm.
you missed any of them, to please visit, beautysuperstars.com/podcast, and you'll be able to catch up. And you can listen to them on the Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. So we appreciate it. And if you'd like to partner with us to further our work, it's like you can visit beautysuperstars.com and just look for the red button. There's a bright red button on there. And I'm always wanting to help hairstylists who may be wanting to raise their prices. They know they need to raise their prices, but they're kind of scared to raise their prices. And
Mhm.
so I have an upcoming webinar. You can sign up. It's like you may want to get on the waiting list or may be able to attend the next session. And it's at beautysuperstars.com/level up. It's a free webinar called Level Up and Charge What You're Worth. And we go through 3 big mistakes that hairstylists are making that is costing them thousands, to say the least. So look forward to seeing you there. Again, beautysuperstars.com/level up. And again, thank you so much to our sponsor, the Black Beauty Expo. So be sure to follow them on Instagram at Black Beauty Expo or at blackbeautyexpo.com to keep up with the latest shows. So thank you so much, Mr. McBride. I really appreciate you and appreciate your time, and we're just grateful. So thank you, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Keep reaching for the stars.